Welcome. Let's cut right to the chase. I'm guessing that if you clicked on this video, you already know how important and how effective creating lists and journaling can be. I started regularly journaling this year and it's had a huge impact on how I approach my days, on my productivity, on everything basically. So I just wanted to really quickly share my approach, how I do things. I have a really simple way of doing things because I don't like to think about it. It needs to be so simple that I'm not caught up on the technicalities or the systems. It's just something that I reference and go back to regularly to keep me in line. Okay, so I'm gonna break this up into 3 parts. Basically, what I do on a daily basis, what I do on a weekly basis, and what I do on a monthly basis. Beyond that, I feel like it's just too long term. I'm gonna come back to that, but it's just to stay really focused and really on what's important right now. So at the top left, I always start with the date, obviously, and then from there, I start to list off the things that I need to tackle in my day, right? This is something that obviously depends on the person, depends on your approach. I try not to go too crazy with my lists and add too many items. Even on days where I have a lot to do, I just always try to be intentional about what is the most important stuff I've got to do. So I just wrote down a couple of examples really quickly. And then on the right side, which is just as important as what I put on the left, I put the word why, okay? It's at the same level of the date and it's written in red. This is super important for people like me where I kind of lose sight or lose track of what I'm doing because I get so involved in the tasks. And so this is a really helpful reminder to always remember why I'm doing any given thing. If I can't fill in that item on the right hand side in red, then that item on my list shouldn't even be there. It doesn't have the why for me to be doing it that day. So a couple of examples would be like on the top, creating content for my brand, right? So I write content brand. Going on a run is great for me because it's for my health and it's for having balance in the day, right? Because I spend a lot of time sitting. So I try to just boil it down into like 1 or 2 words of essence, why I'm doing that thing. And that provides an enormous amount of clarity. It's very visual. The redness of it kind of attracts my eyes. And so I'm just always constantly being reminded. Okay, that's 2/3 of it. The last third is just at the bottom. I have a section for notes and review where I just kind of reflect on the day. I look back on the stuff that I was able to do, on the stuff that I wasn't able to do, and why. So the same sort of thing happens every day, right? So Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, etc. And then on a weekly basis, so week of, in this example, November 19th, review, I'll just look back, I'll flip through the pages of what I've done in the last week and read over once again what I was able to do, what I wasn't able to do. And this is super important for me because for whatever reason, I will forget sometimes all the stuff that I was able to do, how productive I actually was on a given week. And when I forget that, I go to this place where I'm sometimes very critical of myself, or I think I wasn't as effective or productive as I was. So this is a great way to have perspective and to see what you're doing on a weekly basis. I'll just write down my thoughts, write down my reflections, and kind of sort of recap what I was able to do. On a monthly basis, it's the same sort of concept, okay? So in this case, November review. I'll write down exactly like what I do on a weekly basis, but just look back on the whole month. And this actually goes in tandem with what I'm about to talk about in a second, but reflecting on my goals and what I was able to accomplish. And at the bottom, once again, I'll write down my successes and highlights and big wins, essentially, that I had in that given month. And on the next page, I will write down my goals for the coming month, right? So December goals. And I'll split that up into 2 parts. On the left-hand side, I have short-term goals, and this is just, it's kind of a loosely defined category. Obviously, it's going to depend on who you are and what works best for you, but for me, what I've done is short-term and medium-term. Like I mentioned before, planning too far ahead doesn't work for me. It's almost like I'll set out goals for like, I don't know, 6 months or a year in advance, and things never pan out how I expect them to. So I've kind of let that one go. And I'm just focused on what's more in my control in the short and sort of medium term, right? So I split it up into 2 sections. And on the left, like I said, short term, I'll write down 3 or 4 items, right? And I don't like to write down too many things because I feel like it can sort of water it down. So what are like the top 3 or 4 most important things I want to accomplish in the short term? Which for me is kind of like, I don't know, the next 3 weeks, next month maybe, that's sort of the short term. And then on the medium term side of things, same sort of thing. 3 or 4 items that are really important to me, and that would be probably within the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 months. It's sort of a loose category, but again, it's kind of just meant to guide me and give a little bit of direction into where I want to go. So that's basically it. That's what I do on a daily, weekly, and monthly basis. It is working out really well for me. Obviously, it's a system that has evolved over time, and it's probably going to continue evolving. I always appreciate suggestions, so if there's anything that you guys do that you think could really complement this, I would absolutely love to hear it down in the comments below, and that would actually also be great for the community in general. Again, this is just something that is super simple and works for me, for my personality, because it's effortless. I don't have to think about it. Again, I respect a lot of the other methods that are out there, but this is what I do. And this is actually just, like I said, my bullet journal. So I have a separate journal that is more personal and reflective. So I keep those 2 separate. Okay, I hope you like this breakdown of how I do things. This is just a journal I got on Amazon. I'll throw a link to it down below if you want to check it out. I love it because it's just super simple. I think that's sort of a theme for me. Thank you for watching the video. I didn't introduce myself in the beginning, but my name is Nathaniel, and if you like this sort of content revolving around kind of like mental clarity and productivity, definitely subscribe and hit the bell for notifications. You could also sign up to my newsletter, which is just something that I send out every once in a while whenever I release new content. I also have a Patreon, I sell prints, so basically there's a ton of different ways you could potentially support me. At the very least, just stick around, see what I'm up to, and yeah, it's all deeply appreciated. Alright, I will leave things at that. See you soon.